Have you ever looked at your bank account and told yourself, it's too late for me? Have you ever driven past a man behind the wheel of an old truck and thought, he never made it in life? Have you ever stared out a window and wondered if other people are living the life you missed? It was never too late. That was a lie you believed long enough for it to become true. Frank was a truck driver, 53 years old, 34 years behind the wheel, 34 years of earning, spending, spending, and with every passing year, he held one belief tighter, that money is made with big moves. Not small ones, not boring ones, big ones. To understand Frank, you have to feel his days. He woke at 3 in the morning. The remote in his hand, diesel in his nose, cold in his fingers. Hundreds of miles of asphalt repeating like the same song. Loading docks, signatures he never read. Nights in the cab that smelled of coffee and loneliness. And at the end of the month, the account. The pain in his back was real, but that wasn't what hurt. What hurt was that after 34 years of work, he had nothing to show for it. No house, no savings, no peace, just the truck, and the hope that someday the big move would come. Here's what Frank believed, that life changes with one decision, one winning ticket, one deal, one right thing that just never came. And while he waited for the big move, the small money drained away. New tires. Another must-have for the truck. Another month where the paycheck found its way out before it ever reached him. Frank's self-destructive habit wasn't overspending. It was waiting. Waiting for the big thing instead of moving with the small. Every week, Frank drove past a restaurant. Inside, behind the warm glass, sat men his age, celebrating, laughing, as if everything was fine. Frank would stop the truck, look through the window, and see the life others had and he didn't. Then he'd look up at the windshield and see his own reflection. And he'd tell himself they made it. I didn't. One night, Frank pulled over at a rest stop outside town. Killed the engine. Silence. Just the wind and his thoughts. And then, for the first time, he let himself think the thing he'd been avoiding for years. Maybe I already missed my life. That was when he heard a knock on the cab door. It was old Walt, the mechanic at the garage where Frank serviced his truck. 70-something. A back bent from years under the hood. Eyes that had seen everything. You know what this is? Walt asked, handing him an old, dented Thermos. Frank looked at it. Rusted, battered, nothing impressive. This is the Thermos from the garage, Walt said. 25 years old. Not expensive, not new. But every single morning, without fail, it's full. I've never once forgotten to fill it. And you know what it's given me? Hot coffee that never left me out in the cold. Walt paused, and then he said the words that changed everything. Money is like this Thermos. It's not about being big. It's about being full. Every single morning, Frank held the Thermos and didn't understand. Not until Walt spoke the line that would stay with him forever. Money isn't made with power. It's made with consistency. Small, boring, every day. 25 years. Frank started doing the opposite of everything he'd done before. The first transfer was so small it made him laugh. $150 a month, the cost of one coffee a day, an amount that disappeared into his monthly expenses. But he didn't stop it. Month after month. Like the Thermos. Small, but it never stopped. He set up an automatic transfer that would go out on its own before he could stop it. Because he knew if it depended on his decision every month, he'd skip it. He needed a Thermos that filled itself. Then came the test. The truck broke down. The repair, expensive. And the voice in Frank's head spoke up, take the money out. That little thing changes nothing. Better to pay now. Frank stood over his phone, finger hovering above the button. And then he remembered the Thermos. The small old, dented Thermos that never stopped. Don't laugh at the small beginning, he told himself. The big move came 30 years ago, when I should have started. And I missed it because it was too small. He found another way to cover the repair. The thermos kept going. Years passed. Frank didn't notice when. One evening he opened his account, and for the first time, he laughed out loud to himself. It wasn't breathtaking wealth, but it was his. And it was growing, not in big leaps, in the quiet, stubborn, everyday kind. Frank understood what the Thermos had known for 25 years. The small thing, done every day, beats the big thing, done once in a while. Over time, things changed. Frank took a course, improved his career, started earning more. But that wasn't the miracle. The miracle was that he'd stopped waiting for the big move. One evening, he drove past the restaurant again. The lights were the same. The men, the same. But this time, Frank didn't stop, because he was no longer looking through the window. He was already inside his own peace. And then, just as old Walt had handed him the thermos, Frank passed it on. A young driver, the same age Frank had been when he heard the words, the same look, the same lie in his head. "You know what this is?" Frank asked, handing him the old dented thermos. And the young driver listened. His income didn't save Frank. The big move didn't save him. Luck didn't save him. What saved him was an old dented thermos. One small habit that simply never stopped. And if you're wondering whether it's too late for you, hear this: you haven't missed your life. You've just been waiting for the wrong thing. Now you're in the young driver's seat. If this story spoke to you, subscribe. Every week, a new person, a new job, a new joker. A quiet story about how wealth actually gets built. And tell me in the comments, what's your thermos? What's the small thing you've decided to do every day without stopping? See you next time.